Welcome into Garnet and Gold Grub, presented by Tico People's Gas. I'm Catherine Phillips alongside award-winning chef Travis Johnson. He's the Executive Culinary Director of Seminole Dining here on the campus of Florida State. And he's going to walk us through a delicious game day recipe today. Chef, what do you have for us?
Today we're going to do a southern staple, white beans.
Okay.
White beans and rice. And we're going to talk about the preparation of the beans and layering of ingredients and how to make this just a staple for you on game day.
Sounds good.
All right, well, let's start out with the beans. So I like to use for the white beans just a large lima bean. I'm partial to some New Orleans. The camellia beans are probably my favorite. And so when the beans start out, you notice they're pretty small, and if you feel them, they're pretty dense.
Oh yeah.
And so to get these prepared, what we do is we soak them overnight. And there's a lot of different methods for it. You can soak them for 4 hours, 8 hours, or 24 hours. These we soaked for about 16 hours overnight.
They're massive.
Yeah, and you can see here how they almost tripled in size, and see how they're a little bit softer?
Yeah.
So these are ready to go.
Okay.
So we have the cast iron on. As that warms up, we're gonna start out by adding the ham.
Now, what are the benefits of using natural gas here?
Natural gas is a huge benefit in cooking. Definitely the control of temperature and the heat. There's a lot of variations for using white beans or other traditional recipes like red beans or gumbo. That when you're cooking, you want that high heat right away to caramelize all your vegetables and bring out all those flavors and sugars. And then you want to be able to control that heat and turn it down on low to simmer all day long to really build that flavor. So right now you can hear it's on medium-high. All we're going to do is just brown the ham. So we're going to cook it for probably 2 or 3 minutes or so. So as this continues to cook, let's add some more flavors. So I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. And then we're going to go into our onions. And we always add the onions first because they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. And we want to bring out the sugars as they caramelize. And the onions are going to turn a little bit translucent in color. So we'll go ahead and allow this to cook for another 1 to 2 minutes. All right. Now let's layer in our peppers. And today we're working with both a traditional red and green bell pepper, which is gonna add a little bit of color and some flavor. Next, I'm gonna add our celery. So this is all coming together. You can start to smell it. We're gonna go ahead and add the beans to the mixture. Turn the heat down on low. And we're gonna let this cook for 1 to 2 hours.
Okay.
And the beans are gonna continue to cook down. And when we come back and look at this recipe after cooking for a couple hours, you'll see how the color changes in the beans and how it becomes a little bit more creamy as the beans start to break down. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on low, and then we're gonna start our rice.
Okay.
And so today we've done it's a fragrant aromatic brown rice because we wanna be a little bit healthier. And always look at your ratios. This particular rice is a 1 part to 1.5 part water. So 1 cup of rice to 1.5 cups water. And we'll go ahead and just get this started. And we want to bring the water to a boil. All right, now that we brought the water to a boil, we're gonna go ahead and mix in our rice. And once we add the rice, we just want to give it a good stir. We don't want any of the rice to stick to the bottom.
Okay.
One thing with rice is always follow the directions. Look at the ratios and understand the water to rice ratio. And so we brought that back to a boil. We're gonna go ahead and just cut off the heat, and we'll cover this up, set it off to the side, and it'll be ready to go.
Okay.
All right, let's take a look at these beans. The beans have been cooking for about 2 hours now, and you see how they continued to cook down? And they started out as more of your, remember how they started out as the larger beans?
Yeah.
Well, we continued to add a little bit of water throughout the day as it cooked, and the beans continued to break down, and they took on more of that brown caramelization color as they continued to cook. And you can let these go even longer. I like to set the beans on for probably 4 or 5 hours. So if it's a night game, start them early in the morning, walk away, and they're ready to go.
So the secret to this is just patience.
It's patience and time.
Okay.
Yeah. So the beans I like to finish with a little bit of fresh collard greens, just to give it some color, and then add another layer of flavor. So we'll add some collards. We'll stir those in. We want to add those in right at the end because they're going to add some texture, and we don't want them to cook down as much like throughout the process like we did everything else. All right, we have these beans. Let's set these up on the table. Wow, they smell wonderful. And our rice. So our rice is ready. The last thing I do with the rice is just add about a tablespoon of butter. And while the rice is hot, stir that in. And it's going to help coat the rice to make it a little bit more palatable and bring out a few of the extra flavors in it. All right, let's bring the rice over. And we are close to a meal. Let's plate one of these up. The fragrance coming off that rice is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Top this off. This is one of my favorite dishes that I've learned to cook.
It looks great.
Being here in the South. And then we're going to top it off with just a few green onions. And what do you think? You want to try?
Let's try it.
All right. That's
Love it.
patience. Patience and
That
love.
is good. Patience and love. For full details on this recipe and more information on how you can incorporate natural gas at home, at your business, or at your next tailgate event, go to peoplesgas.com/cooking.